We go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Rivers Corbett, and this is the HeadSpace for Entrepreneurs podcast. And today I've got a really awesome guest. Kevin and I have just met a couple of weeks ago. Had a wonderful conversation. We are hanging out in the same geographic area. We both serve entrepreneurs. But his organization, boomersplus, is really doing it in a unique way. And my lovely audience, I like to bring kind of zag stories to play here, not only how businesses are starting and are building, but are ultimately, of course, serving entrepreneurs along the way. And boomersplus is just one of those organizations. Kevin MacIntyre, VP of Marketing for boomersplus, welcome to the HeadSpace for Entrepreneurs show, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to have a great conversation.
Yeah.
First of all, I know you probably knew I was going to call you out on air with this, but Kevin is a Patriots fan, and I'm a Patriots fan, as you all know. But he went with Brady. I asked him, the proverbial thing, Brady or Belichick, the Patriots, and he went to Tampa or Tampa. I love that name. I just love it how they find these names. It's so cool.
I haven't been traded. I've been loaned to Tampa Bay for a couple of years, but my heart's still somewhere in Boston.
All right, pal. So let me ask you the question then, okay? Because it has the potential. Yeah. I don't know if I put money on it, but a Super Bowl game where you've got in Tampa Bay versus Billy Belichick and the Patriots, who are you going to put your $5 on?
Oh, that's easy. I'm definitely going for Tampa Bay and Brady because I don't think the Patriots are going to get there.
I love it. I love it. See, he says he's on loan. But the thing is when you're on loan, my friend, you got to be invited back.
Well, that's the hope.
That is the hope. Well, look, let's kind of dive into boomersplus, and I want you to kind of you've just come to the organization just recently, but I know you've got entrepreneurial spirit, you've got entrepreneurial background in you. So, can you talk about what was the I guess the aha moment when boomersplus started that they said there's an opportunity here? Can you talk about that, and then kind of the first 12 months how the company really started to find its way through to where it's at right now?
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. I joined over a year ago. boomersplus has been around for the last 5 or 6 years. And it came about with our founder selling a business and then kind of looking up and going, well, I'm not ready to retire. I still have a lot to contribute to my community and to organizations. And what he found was there was a lot of people in a similar mode. And I'll kind of say, the folks in our database in our company, I'll get into that, but there are folks with 25, 30 plus years of experience. And what we believe is, more organizations and communities should leverage the wisdom and experience of folks who've been there and done that. They've had the successes and they've had the failures. And he thought, okay, what if we created something called boomersplus and we could be a matchmaker to connect organizations to, folks, what we call seasoned professionals with a lot of wisdom and experience. And that's the business that we're in.
Very cool. So, but when I listened to you explain this, and I know my buddy Rick Gant was one of the original guys, and he was explaining it to me, and I was just trying to let me kind of back up for a sec. I get what you're saying. I really do. I understand it 150%. The sport of business, the older you get, the more valuable you are. It's not like in hockey, football, or baseball. The older you get, the faster, unless, of course, Mr. Tampa comes into play here. But, it's a value. You become even more valuable because of that journey. So with all the economic development agencies out there who are, quote unquote, in the mentor game, what's the why boomersplus? Why is it able to deliver that value proposition to entrepreneurs when the other guys and gals are I'll say in the game. I'm not necessarily playing the game right.
Right. So really, when you to answer that question, I have to give you a little overview of our 3 lines of service, and it goes broader than mentoring. We're, the first
Okay.
line of service is what we'll call employment engagements, and that's where, say a great example is a startup company. They're growing. They don't necessarily have the budget yet for hiring C-level type executives, but they need some guidance from folks that have been there. So they can hire a part-time CFO or part-time COO or part-time sales exec through our service, boomersplus. So that's we have engagements where you can go part-time, project-based, and we'll even place some full-time people. That's employment engagements. Then we have what we call mentorship services, and that's kind of the space where, we have thousands of seasoned professionals in our database, and if an organization wants us to come in, we can recruit mentors, we train the mentors and mentees, and they will report on the process all through our automated process, our platform. That's the mentoring side. And then the third side is advisory services. So when you think of what we have, we have folks, thousands of folks in our national database with over 25 years experience that organizations can tap into to get at some of the advice and guidance they need. And that's where our virtual advisor program comes in. So really, when you think of it, it's all about tapping into wisdom and experience in many different ways. So startups, small business, not-for-profits, and large business can benefit from wisdom and experience. And one of the keys is we can match an organization to that experience in 10 days or less.
So what's in it for the the mentor? Obviously the intrinsic value of giving back, and that's all good, volunteer, but these are business people. Do they get any opportunity for remuneration somewhere along the way?
Absolutely. So for example, in the employment engagement side, we have what we call seasoned pros on demand, or we have interim executives. So if you're a medium to large size company and for whatever reason you lost one of your senior executives, and it typically takes 6 to 12 months to replace them, so they can tap into our system and they can find an interim CFO or an interim any C-level executive, and that person will be paid for that duration. So we put an interim CFO in New Brunswick and one in Montreal, and the people wanted to join for a 6-month project, and they get paid for those gigs. So there's that. And then on the mentoring side, there's payment for some of the mentoring that they do. The bottom line is it's a bit of both. It's when you're doing employment engagements, it's we charge a matchmaking fee, and the organization pays the seasoned pro for their services. When it gets into the mentoring and advising, depending upon the program, some of it's give back and some of there's pay.
Right, which there needs to be. I mean, we're talking to entrepreneurs on this podcast, and I think this is a lesson to be learned: is that it's okay to do pro bono, but ultimately the strategy has to be also include some level of monetization. One of the words I hate in the world is nonprofit, because it doesn't mean they're not making money. It means they have turned themselves into a beggar strategy. And sorry for those people that are in nonprofits, but the majority are, please sir, I need some money, not doing innovative programs to be self-sufficient and create their own revenue streams. And so that's what I love about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and some of the neat stuff is we have, if you take a look at the database, we have folks who have sold their businesses, their previous owners, they've owned multiple businesses, and they're at a point in their life where they want to provide that advice and guidance to other entrepreneurs. So we've matched up. I can remember one instance where we matched a former seafood processing owner of a business with a smaller, similar type operation in that sector, and to me that's an excellent match. And away they go. And the previous owner works when he works on his schedule, suits his lifestyle, and look at the experience and the wisdom that the younger, new entrepreneur is getting is tremendous.
Well, that's an interesting point too, because some stats that I've read recently include that we put too much emphasis on young entrepreneurs when, and I get it, you know, they're young, they're hungry and so on, but really it's the wisdom and the scars and the network that come with the older entrepreneur also being a part of the team. Doesn't mean they have to come in and run it, but to have them also be part of the team. Maybe, let's go back to sports analogies again. I mean, we see in sports teams, they do it all the time. They bring in the veterans to quote unquote mentor the young kids. Yeah. So I love that value proposition. So why can't regular economic agencies do what you're doing, in your opinion?
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, they're not in the business of running mentoring programs. And when you think of it, so we have great relationships with economic development agencies across the country. And one of the things that we hear, particularly in mentoring programs, is, it's the same folks being tapped on the shoulder to be a mentor. And so I don't think many organizations have a database as deep as ours that can tap into, mentors from any sector and any skill set. And so that, on top of the platform we built that really identifies the positive impact points of mentoring. And that's the game we're in. We have mentors and we have a system around them to ensure that the program is working.
Okay, so let's talk about how you ultimately, you're the director of business development and marketing. Yep. Two key elements of success for any business. What are the processes that you've got in place to build that responsibility through boomersplus? It's an important question because any entrepreneur needs to understand some strategies and then implement them to build their business. So I'm really intrigued as to how you guys do that.
Well, I think a great answer to that is our virtual advisor program. And we're a small startup-oriented company, even though we're 5 or 6 years old. So let me take you back a couple of months. In March, when COVID-19 hit, the core part of our business, which was the employment engagements, kind of dried up. And then we said, look, if we have all this talent in our database, what can we do to give back to startup, small business, and not-for-profits during COVID-19? So it was a bit of a pivot for us. And from then, we went into our database and said, who would be interested in volunteering as a virtual advisor to get small business through COVID-19? And the results coming back were overwhelming. So we launched this virtual advisor program. And what we're finding is there is such demand out there for accessing, leverage and wisdom, that the program is growing and growing and growing. And to one of your points earlier was economic development agencies. They're the folks that we're working with now. To roll out virtual advisor programs, because some of them are in the business of, economic development stuff. Some are in the business of providing loans to small businesses, but they're not in the business of providing advisors or mentoring. Types of, or finding their company XYZ, a part-time executive they need to drive the business forward. So we step up and go, hey, let's do this virtual advisor program. We've launched it across Atlantic Canada. And now they're saying, what about mentorship programs? What about, part-time employment engagements? Because they're starting to realize the depth and the knowledge in our database is so rich that we can help them with their clients. And so the ironic thing, we've never worked harder through COVID-19, and we're very proud of the virtual advisor program, but it's really been a kind of a door opener to us to say, hey, we're here. We've got all kinds of talent in the database that's sitting on the bench that wants to help on their time schedule. Let's deploy them. And so we're starting to open conversations in many different provinces and many different economic development agencies about the benefits of leveraging that experience.
What you mentioned Atlantic Canada. Is that the geographic region you primarily focus in on?
No, we started, I say Atlantic Canada, but we started in Halifax and we're in Ontario, we're in Quebec, and just the sheer number of, early retirements or retirees or semi-retired folks, they're finding us, and they're across the country. We have virtual advisors in one of our programs that sit in every province across the country.
Oh, fabulous.
So the demand is there on the supply side. They're saying, hey, man, I'd love to be a part of this process. How do we do it? Well, it's simple. It's 4 minutes, join, and then when an opportunity comes up and you're available and you're open to it, we can match you to an organization. So we're across the country and growing. We're Canadian-based right now. So supply side, we're done really well. And I think organizations are just starting to figure out that, hey, I got to rethink just hiring full-time. I got to think about, can I bring on some part-time folks or project folks who have the experience I need, so day one they're up and running?
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, I know a company that's in the chef business that does freelancing this way. We have chefs across the country. We connect with businesses that are reawakening to doing business in a different way. And so great similarities there. Our primary market, we're into the United States also, but it's that freelance model. And I always call it, what I love about it, I've always tried to do freelance models because it's like the circus. You put the tent up when business is on, when you bring it down, you don't have to pay anything along the way. So that's so very cool. True. What are some of the, as a key player in the organization, what are some of the challenges that boomersplus has faced in not just the last 6 months, because you kind of talked about that, but as before COVID hit, what were some of the challenges as a company you guys were facing? And this is just a lesson for entrepreneurs that we were facing that you can talk about, and how you ultimately dealt with. Just give me a couple of examples.
Yeah, you know what? And this is not just what boomersplus went through, but I think everybody goes through, and it's a challenge. Is focus.
Yes.
There's so many bright, shiny objects out there that you can chase, and so for my early, I'll say first 4 or 5 months, I'm a big believer in focus, and the ability to say no means you have focus. Yes. When you notice certain things. So that would be one, is just to stay focused, and then I think, because of my marketing background, the other one would be know your client, know your customer. I'm not saying, you think you know them. I'm saying get out there and have honest conversations with them about what did you like and dislike about the service? When do you expect to use us again? If not, why? And so how can we help your business? I think those are the top two that have provided, focus. When you have limited resources, you have to focus, but you got to make sure you focus on the right things, and then talk to your customer. There's insights. That would be the two. It's interesting you say that. Just recently, and I've always been excited to go to the UK and do business, and so with now I'm living in a virtual space. I can go to the UK, no problem. But interesting, as I've been exploring doing business there, time zone differences, cultural differences, and I'm thinking I haven't really dug deep into this beautiful space called North America yet, where I know the culture pretty good. The time zones are all within my, and so I've made that decision because I too chase, and I said, it's nice, but is it really worth my time and energy? And what am I going to give up to ultimately head across the pond, as sexy as it sounds? So I love that you said that. The second one is know your customer. Always been a firm believer that business is a dating game. You've got to connect with your customer all the time and get to know them. Yeah, so, and it's so true. And if there was a third one, and then this is the one I just absolutely love, and it's a great test, particularly for a startup company that's bringing on a board and all that stuff, is, what business are you in? Right. And it's fun to ask. It's fun to ask the team. I mean, it could be a survey. What business are you in? You could ask the team, you could ask your CEO, and you could ask your board members. And, the ability to stay focused is that everybody knows what business they're in and they're not. And I think you can go out to a lot of smaller companies and ask that question, and you might get different answers. And you know, the tighter the answer, the better it is for everybody.
So let's take that theme and drive it back to what are you finding it's kind of a two-pronged approach. What are you finding that the majority of entrepreneurs are coming to you for with regards to I need this support? And then the other side of the equation, but how many times are they coming to you for support and you help them discover that actually what they need is finance support versus marketing support? You ever go through that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. So they come to us for it's finance and accounting support. And I would say business strategy support. But the smaller the business, they'll come to us and they'll say, look, I need this. And then our process is first of all, our sales team says, okay, why do you need it? And fill this out and ask some questions. And then our client services team takes it and drills down a bit more about the role, how it impacts the organization. And then there are times where client services will call back the account manager and say, I'm not sure what they need is what they've given us the role description for. So we'll go back and forth with the client and say, you know what, based upon what you cited as the problem you're trying to solve, we think based on our experience, you need this. And then we'll just work through it with the clients. That happens, the smaller businesses that can happen. And especially a startup. I mean, a startup can, 1 week, because things are fluid. One week they can say, I need this type of executive experience here. And then 3 weeks later, it could change based upon some outcomes. So I would say the process of matching them to the experience they need is fluid. And we're just going to...
the reason I asked the question is that, and this is really a lesson to entrepreneurs that are listening on the podcast, is that you're on a journey that you've never been on before. Do not pretend you know the journey through this jungle.
Yeah.
Just because you quote unquote gave yourself a title called CEO or founder, and you instantly got all these brains to go with it. You really need to go in asking the question, this is my situation. What is your advice on what I need versus I need this? And I always get so freaking annoyed in our society in particular is that we teach our entrepreneurs to go out and pitch to VCs their business idea. We don't teach them how to pitch to customers. We teach them how to pitch to VCs. And it's so wrong. So another example of you don't know the path, let the guys at boomersplus help you identify the right path you need to go on and then connect you to the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's so true. I mean, even if you take a look at, I consider myself a marketer, but at the end of the day, in the last 6 or 7 or 8 months and how we launched this virtual advisor service, the best ideas came from the team.
Yes.
They didn't come from the marketer. They came. They came they came from the team. Just the marketer happened to have his ears open, and that's no different than, the CEO has a wealth of knowledge and talk to customers, talk to team. I think is some of the key stuff they can do.
Yeah, I love it. So, what's next for boomersplus? What's kind of the vision for where you folks want to go?
Well, I think we're going to continue to build our database across the country. And then we're really getting into, and this is a direct result of COVID-19, we are having more organizations and economic development organizations, government organizations come to us and say, look, small business and startups need help. Right. We can't just give them money. They need guidance.
Yeah.
And we're starting to go to them and say, look, okay, we have advisors, we have mentors, we also have part-time engagements. I think it's to build up the relationship side with economic development agencies to say, hey, we can help small businesses in your community.
Yes.
incubators is one where, you know, we can help them in many different ways. So I think work with economic development organizations across the country to say, here's our service, here's we are. It's turnkey, it's on demand sort of thing. And when we can really help, let's just work together and figure out the program. So to us, it's going to be work really hard with economic development to see if we can, you know, get our name out. We're a small business, but get our name out and help more small business startups succeed.
Well, you know, you're a small business, just like I am a small business, but I'm smart enough, like you are smart enough to know you put the talent around you to deliver the service. It doesn't matter if you're small, medium, or large. It's the impact of that talent, and that's why you're going through that. And I think it's really cool. And I'm very proud to say I am on the boomersplus approved list of CEOs, of entrepreneurs, and so on. And I'm really pleased to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'm happy you're part of it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So, Kevin, how do people? Let's say an entrepreneur's leading in now, a CEO is leading in now. What's the process, dude, to make it all happen?
It's really straightforward. I mean, if you're looking to leverage some wisdom and experience of the seasoned pros we have, just go to boomersplus.com, right on the front page, and click on and say, here's where my organization could use help, and we will be in contact with you. It's as simple as that. It's not a lengthy process. I mean, we've placed folks in less than 10 business days, from the company coming to us saying we need this finance help to them joining the team was less than 2 weeks. So it's beautiful, man. It's a quick process.
Yeah, and it needs to be, because the entrepreneur isn't willing to wait 6 months to have this go through. They've already, as you said, things have changed 5 times since that time. So
yeah, absolutely.
You must be, you know, how are you adjusting during COVID with what it is that you need to do? Do you have any hacks that you would recommend to, again, the sales guys and gals?
Oh, you know what? It's not a hack. What amazes me about going through COVID-19 is we switched from a face-to-face world to a virtual world, and we have a small team, and we're now virtual. We have no offices. We're a virtual organization, and it, we could do that only because there was a lot of trust in our culture.
Right.
So to me, I don't think it's a hack, but we have a lot of trust on the team. Everybody helps out. Everybody pitches in. There's all great ideas come from everywhere, and we can do this virtually because of the trust we have on the team. And I think that's the culture our founder created. So
that's brilliant.
Not a hack, but in a virtual world, it's very important.
Yeah, well, maybe it is a hack right now as we figure out what we need to do to be successful. How do you guys connect weekly? Do you have the weekly meetings? Do you how does that all work with collaboration?
So we have weekly ops meeting. We have a weekly marketing meeting. We have a weekly sales meeting. They're all typically on video. And those are get-togethers, and then we also have scrums. Like there's some marketing scrums where if there's something we're working on, if it's project-based, just jump on the line, whether it's a phone call or whether it's a video call. We'll have 20-minute scrums throughout the week. So I think we're very connected.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes, and it seems to work for us, but I still, as much as I embrace the technology and I like working from home and stuff, face-to-face is still something that I thoroughly enjoy. So now that we're, maybe in the next couple of months we can do a bit more of it, but
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting journey in that paradigm.
It is.
I feel like I'm in one of those snow bubble things, you shake
Yeah.
them up and this, there's so much noise going around. My daughter was dealing with a little bit of anxiety the other day about, she's living in Toronto, about the increase in cases. And I said, well, first of all, keep it in perspective. It's 100 cases in the province of millions of people. So let's keep that in perspective. But I also counseled her to say, this is a journey we're on right now. And all you can do is go forward and accept the fact that it's going to be different. And I think that's the key. If you can keep open-minded and just keep moving forward and accepting what it is today, not hoping it's going to go back, then I think that's going to be a part of the coming through this with some sensibility of, okay, I've got my mind still together as we go through this. So I'm all about coffees. I'm all about virtuals and all that kind of stuff. It's just embrace it all and learn from it as you're moving forward.
Yeah, that's
Very
all you
cool.
that's all you can do is just push forward, but keep a good balance, especially on the mental health side. And there's silver linings in everything we do. We just have to find them.
Well, and I know a lot of those CEOs, including myself, you talk about mental health. That's one thing that I'm very open to talking about, my journey with that. It can help other entrepreneurs go through the same thing. So
yeah, absolutely.
Kevin, this has been amazing, man, to get a little journey, get a little tour down the Boomers Plus lane. Boomersplus.ca, is that the URL?
Boomersplus.com.
Perfect. Boomersplus.com, and you can start the journey with Kevin. He also is on LinkedIn. You can get him on there also and hang out. Very responsive and very much interested in helping entrepreneurs along the journey. Yes. For those that you want to hang out with me, you can go to cheftorial.com. I've got my own LinkedIn profile too. I'm sharing my journey on the social media platforms about what we're doing to build and to navigate this new atmosphere that we're going through. So this is Rivers Corbett from the HeadSpace for Entrepreneurs podcast. I really appreciate everybody and keep on being successful. All right.
All right. Oops. How was that?
There we go.